Let's play. And it really is just a game of copycat. Let's play. Let's play. Like we did when we were children. Let's play. We freeze up and we forget to play. We take it so seriously. Hi everyone, I'm Crystal McDaniel and this is The Naked Singer. Let's play. What do I mean? Let's play. Let's play. Like we did when we were children. Let's play. So many times when we are singers and performers, we freeze up and we forget to play. We take it so seriously. This record label needs to hear me and I'm not sure what to do, and I don't know if this is the best recording, so I'm going to record it again and again and again and again. I'm going to an audition. What if they don't give it to me? What if I don't get it? What if it's not good enough? Oh my gosh, I'm going to go in there. I'm next. And I freeze. And then I'm not sure if I even sang or not. What's going on? All of those things, all of that anxiety, all of that fear, we can take care of if we just allow the child within us to play. And when I say play, I mean we were not innately born with this fear and anxiety about performing and playing. We just instantly did it. I don't know, do you remember being a child and playing a game where you all pretended to be superheroes or whatever, and you're out in your front yard and you have all your friends out there and they're saying, I'm Superman, or I'm Iron Man, or I'm Captain America, or whatever superhero that you had at the time, and you all chose one and you went out there with your powers and you grabbed different things like maybe a sword or a trash can lid, a metal trash can lid for your shield as Captain America, or whatever it is that you came up with. But that was really that shield, or that stick, that was really your sword. If you were playing Star Wars, that was really your lightsaber or whatever. And you got out there and you played these characters all the way down. And if your character died on the field or whatever, you would just jump up and go, okay, new person. And you had rules that you had to lay there for like 30 seconds before you can get back up and join the game again. But no matter what, you weren't thinking about people watching you and what their opinions were going to be. You were just getting out there and doing it for the sheer enjoyment of playing the game and interacting with your friends and using your imagination. And that is what I mean by let's play. I know when I was a little girl, I used to play all the time. I loved to play in my mother's closet, and when I saw that she had a beautiful sparkly gown or beautiful shoes or whatever, I would get in there and I would put it on and I would walk around and I would put her lipstick on and I would pretend to be a princess, and I would give commands to my invisible court. Or when I was playing with my Barbie dolls, I had whole scenes that we enacted and worked out, and I got all into the characters of what Barbie and Skipper and all the Barbie doll characters were doing at the time. And when I was singing, I sang a lot as a child, and my parents encouraged me to sing, and I've been singing since I was a very, very tiny little girl. So when I would get up and sing, I would pretend to be in arenas or in theaters or whatever, and I would put on Barbra Streisand because Barbra Streisand was my very favorite singer when I was growing up, as she was so many people. Barbra Streisand, who doesn't like her? She's iconic. And I would pretend to be Barbra Streisand, and I had soundtracks that I would record from the record onto the cassette of arena applause or Coliseum applause or or recital hall applause or theater applause, and I would do my concerts and I would sing away to Barbra Streisand, and then I would press that tape recorder and I would play the applause for whatever venue in my imagination, and I would take my bows as though that audience was really there, and really I was singing to myself in the mirror, but I was practicing those songs and I was practicing those characters and believing that that really was real. And I had no inhibition at all. Sometimes I would go into our living room and we had a mirror at the end of the living room, and I would sing to that and use the living room as a stage. I would do all kinds of things to perform. I would perform in front of my parents and get their feedback. I would perform in front of my grandparents, whatever audience I could grab. And you know, when you were little, if you're a singer and a performer, you did the same thing too. And everybody would come over and your mom or your dad would say, sing for grandma and grandpa, or sing for Aunt Susie or whatever. And you would get up and you would sing, and then everybody would go, yay, that was so good. And if you were little, 2 or 3 years old, you're 4, you would go, yay, too. And you thought you were the greatest in the entire world. Think back. You knew and you were confident that you had just done a good job. And you were great. And that was exciting to you. And that is the exact thing that we have to tap into every single time we're at a singing lesson, we're at a voice lesson, or we're in an acting class, or if you're doing an audition, or when you are getting up, getting ready to perform, or in a competition. No matter what, that is your playtime. That is not your judgment time where your head is going to be cut off if you don't perform it right, or that your career is going to crash if you don't perform it right. That is your playtime. That is the time to express your creativity and just go in there like that child you were, and the child that still lives in you, and the child that you are, and you just use that. And you go in there with that exuberance and that joy and that knowledge and confidence that you are unique and you are the greatest in the world at what you do. And that singing, and you get up there and you play that character, and you put on that armor, and you hand that shield if your character has that, whatever, but use that childlike imagination. See that whole scene and go out and just have a really good time, because deep down inside, you are not this fearful person that keeps putting chains on yourself like it's a life or death situation if you don't get this role, or the concert doesn't go well, or whatever it is that you fear is going to happen. You can get up there and actually be filled with joy and enthusiasm and passion for what you do and look forward to these things. So how do we go about tapping into that? What can we actually do? So what I have found is, if I ask a singer, if I ask one of my students to bring into a lesson something that brings them joy, something that actually puts a smile on their face and really makes them happy, something that represents that, it actually helps them. The other day I had a student, and she was zooming in because she's in Ireland right now, and she was zooming in for her lesson, and she had bought this sheep because in Ireland there's a lot of sheep. And so she had bought this sheep, and she just loves this sheep. And so she went and got it. I said, bring something in here that brings you joy. And so she went and got the sheep, and she was having trouble with opening the throat by yawning and maintaining that phrase after phrase after phrase after phrase. So I just said to her, show me the sheep. Now tell me about this sheep. And she did. And then I said, okay, I want you to hold that sheep, and I want to be able to see your face while you're holding the sheep. And so I said, now, what we're going to do is we're going to pretend like the sheep is going to sing this phrase in the music, but first we're going to yawn and allow the sheep to yawn and make sheep sounds in the yawn. So we literally went, bah, bah, like that. And she was able to do it. Of course, we laughed and laughed, and she was smiling because it's silly, but it's play, right? And so she did that. And then when she sang the line from the song, and we were continuing on and on, line after line after line, she sang it in that open throat the way the sheep would do it, with that yawn and making that silly sound. And when it came out beautiful. It came out relaxed. It came out fun. It came out exactly the way she wanted to do. And why is that? Because she was being a child and letting her inner child play and make the noises that a child would make. And a child would be able to take the instruction and do it just in a snap. So that helped her a lot. We went with another student to do the exact same thing, but this time she didn't know to bring anything with her, so we just found things that we could be silly with, or stuffed animals or whatever in the studio. And when we got her playing, she says it has transformed the way she practices, because she hadn't thought about it being play. And it actually is. We have to get into the imaginations, and we have to know that if we were 3 years old and somebody told us to yawn and continue to hold that yawn over and over again, we would just do it, because we would know that we're making a silly sound and maybe a silly face, but we would be trying with all our might and working with all our might to really yawn like that. We would do tummy breathing, and it would be silly. And as a child, you would just go for it, because children do that. They're great mimickers. And instead of getting caught in our head, what if I don't do it right? Well, a child just goes, okay, I'm going to play copycat. And it really is just a game of copycat and being in connection with your body. Children don't know to not play with their bodies, because in the beginning, that's how they discover, and that's how they learn. When we're babies, we look at babies and we go and make silly noises, and we put our hands up there and touch their hand to our hand and touch their hand to our hand until they can actually experiment and do it for themselves. Children, when they're babies, they take their feet and they put their feet in their mouths, because they're exploring with their mouths, and they blow bubbles and make these sounds, and you see them over and over again making these baby sounds, and then they'll repeat it, and they get so excited because they see that they can do these things, and they're not scared to experiment with what they have around them, with their hands, with their feet, with their head, with their ears, with their tongues, all of these things. And nothing is off limits, and we don't judge them for it, because they're learning and they're experimenting. And we have to be able to do the exact same thing in the exact same way, and have that exact same mindset that we're learning and we're exploring and we're having fun. And this is our passion. One of the reasons we get up on the stage and do it is because we have fun and we want to have fun. So we need to tap into that child that knows how to have fun. When I was, when my children, not me, when my children were little, I encourage them to use their imaginations as a parent. So we had a costume box, and we would clean up by playing characters in different ways and using different voices. And like sometimes I would pretend to be the head housemaid at a large English estate, and they would be the staff that worked with me, and I would talk in a British accent, and so would they, and they would go about the chores for the Lord of the Manor, and we would talk about all the things, and that helped us have a good time cleaning up. And knowing that that was a fun chore, and we could explore the different voices and the different characters, and just make sure that we were having a great time. So turning something mundane into something so much fun was a really great way of getting things done and teaching them to stay hooked into their creativity and their childlike nature. And it's paid off, because now my daughter Rachel is into media composition, and she's getting her master's degree, and she puts music to commercials and movies and television shows. And my daughter Rosemary is getting her master's degree, her second master's degree at Mary Baldwin University, and she'll have her master's in fine arts, and she'll be able to run theater programs and teach people how to also have fun on the stage. And she's a Shakespearean actress, and she studies how to do that. And she does a really great job and stays in this fun, childlike space so that she can bring these characters forth. My son is a podcaster, a professional podcaster, and he's got thousands of followers, and he tells all these great gaming stories and gets into the characters and the history behind them and what they're doing, and tells all about the actual play and why and the stories behind it. And so he's very creative in how he does things. So all of this tapped into having these great careers that are so childlike and creative. And that's what we have to do as singers and performers. We've got to get in there and tap into the joy. And the child in us knows this joy and enthusiasm and passion. And that's what keeps us going as performers and just as people in general. We can tap into that, and we know that we can because that child exists. Every time we're with friends and we're laughing in that big belly laugh way, or we have family game night and we're laughing with one another, or we play a sport that we enjoy and we get out there and we laugh and kick a ball or whatever it is that we do, those activities all help us bring out joy. For me, it's tennis and swimming. When I am tapping into that and I'm swimming and I'm swinging that tennis racket and doing those things, I am tapping into that childlike nature that I have, because all of those things were things that I loved to do as a child. So those things are very, very helpful when it comes to our actual performance, to overcome the fear and the anxiety and the nerves, and realize that inside us is this child that wants to play, and we just need that child to take over. In life, when we have to make adult decisions, then the child needs to stay quiet. Like if we have to buy a car or a house, or where we're going to live, or showing up on time and doing all the responsibilities that life has to offer, that's when the adult needs to take over. When we're scheduling when we're going to practice or when we're going to do these things, that's when the adult needs to take over. But we need to give ourselves a few minutes every day where the child in us can actually play, so that we can help ourselves balance and be in a healthier mindset for the practice and the creativity and the performance and the singing that we so desperately want to do. So how do we actually get into that? Well, first, as I said earlier, I want to encourage you to bring something to your audition or your performance or your backstage dressing room or your audition or your lesson, something that really brings joy and that you absolutely love and will put a smile on your face. Those things are the things that are going to remind you that you are a child inside, and that innate childhood that has not gone away. You still have it, and you're going to nurture that child so that child can come out and have a good time while you're doing that. Sometimes it helps us to be able to explain exactly why this brings joy and excitement to us, because We want to be able to light up when the subject matter comes. We want to be able to have excitement and feel that exuberance that we have for that particular object and what it means to us. I know for me, it's Wonder Woman. So I have a lot of Wonder Woman things. And some of the exuberance and joy comes from the fact that I didn't do that on my own. She didn't start out just to be my icon. Although when I was young, I loved to watch the Linda Carter version of Wonder Woman on the television. But she became more endearing and more of an icon with me because other people started comparing some of the things I do and calling me Wonder Woman because there were so many things that I was doing and that I produce and that I get into and create. So they kept saying, "You're Wonder Woman." And the next thing I knew, students were bringing me these Wonder Woman items and things that represented that for them. And the more they came, the more students brought it. And so the joy I have in the Wonder Woman items that I have is coming from the fact that my students and my children actually see that in me, and because they do, that brings me so much joy. So I always keep a Wonder Woman thing around me to remind me of the joy that my children and my students bring to me. And that makes a huge difference in how I approach teaching and approach my students, because I want that relationship. I want to show love, mercy, and grace. I want to give duty and honor to my students and see them grow. Nothing excites me more than to see my children or my students succeed and really grasp a hold of something and go, yes, you know, I did that today. Nothing gives me more joy and pleasure than doing that. So when I see the Wonder Woman things, I go, yes, I help people do that. And I help them grasp into that. And when I go into auditions, I remind myself that when I'm in front of my children and in front of my students, I perform well and I play. And I take that in there with me. When I don't, I usually don't have near the good audition, near the audition level that I want to have when I do take them in there. And that makes a huge difference, because when I don't take them in there, I get in my head. When I do take them in there, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm there to play, and I'm there to go, yay! I'm the best in the world. I can do this. Thank you, God, for giving me this gift. Because I know that my joy comes from that, and I know that God, is enjoying watching me. And he gets pleasure, God gets pleasure from me enjoying the gift that he gave me. And I think that everyone needs to have that particular focus on making sure that they are always tapping into that child that gives the joy. So bringing something that brings you joy and can remind you of joy is exactly what you have to have. And I'm not talking about a good luck charm. I'm talking about a childlike reminder that this deep down inside in your core is who you were created to be. This is what will drive your purpose. That particular excitement and childlike joy and exuberance for what you're doing. That brings a smile on your face. And when there is an excited smile on your face, then it's contagious to the people around you, and they see that and they want to work with that. So your success comes from really that creative inner child that just enjoys giving whatever it is that they have to give at the time. Now, when you're practicing, I want to encourage you to never practice when you're in a bad mood or a cloudy mood, or you're having the voices in your head that are telling you that you're no good and you're never going to get it right. Don't practice when you're doing that. find a different way to practice, like maybe study a role that is comedic that you've always wanted to do so that you can laugh. You can learn to laugh through the clouds, and you can find your smile and your joy by studying that particular role and start getting your brain to change. One of the main things that helps me to change my brain is to start cleaning out something, or like the refrigerator or a closet or a cabinet, or cleaning the bathrooms, whatever it takes, dusting, making things smell good, putting in good smelling scents that give me a reminder of a good time in my life or something good that has happened before. I find that lavender and vanilla do that a lot because my grandmother used Yardley's English lavender soap, and lavender reminds me of the love of my grandmother and all the good times that I had with my grandmother. So I want that, want that smell around a lot, and that helps me. I also go for a walk and try to look at the trees and the sky and the sun. I also go swimming, and I find swimming helps me a lot, especially when I go underwater and swim underwater, because it's quiet, and just the peace of being underwater and the body movement and getting into my body with the movement, it makes me feel good about myself and about the world in general. When I play tennis, it helps me get out aggression because I can really hit that tennis ball, and that's helpful, as I've always loved to be able to play tennis. And so I've started taking tennis lessons to bring something good in for myself and to tap into that child that loved and was untarnished by trauma or problems of the day and of my life. I want to focus on the child and the joy and the blessing and the enthusiasm that the child gives me. So I'm bringing more things like that into my life, and I find that those things are helpful. I encourage you to go to the gym and get physical, because the bottom line is we need to get out of our head and into our bodies. So starting to exercise, eat right, think about the things that you eat, because your gut actually connects with your mind, and it's been proven by science that your gut is like the second mind of your body. So if you're not putting the right things, if you're putting junk into it, then your brain actually is going to react to that, and you'll have more dark moods and more depression. So you need to think about what you're actually putting into your gut and how that can change the way your mind thinks. So we want to think about healthier eating and healthier thinking. And when you get into your body that way and into exercise, when you're exercising, the endorphins start, and endorphins help us to be in a better mood. So we want that. And it's that Elwood statement, exercise makes you happy. Endorphins happen and they make you happy. And happy people just don't kill people, and I love that. I love that statement because I just think it's so funny. And it's another thing that brings me joy. There are so many different ways that you can do that, to tap in that. Get with friends, play a board game, play cards, get on Zoom if you don't see your friends. I just Zoomed with some friends that are in another country last night, and that sure did help my mindset because I love them so very much. So I was so glad to be able to say that. So anything, take up a hobby. Go do photography. Do something that's going to get that brain to change, and then you can go back into your practice with a better mindset, and you can find a different way to play at that particular point. But playing is the point, because without play and without letting that inner child out, it's going to be very difficult for you to ever really enjoy a performance career. And that is what we're about here on The Naked Singer, is being very transparent and understanding all the ins and outs of what it takes to be a singer, no matter what genre that you sing in, because there are a lot of people out there that want to put you down, and they want to steal your joy, and they really are just the vampires of joy, where they just really suck all the energy out. The criticism that we take, the angry people that we run into, the insecurity of other people and their concerns for us, and constantly trying to talk us into doing something else, whatever that is, it should start with joy. And we have to be able to make sure that we are tapping into that childlike enthusiasm that we had, and that the people that criticize us the most encouraged at one time. And we need to make sure that we stand strong and that we continue to do what we're called to do and work with the gifts that we have been given, and not be afraid to do it. And allowing the child to play is the best thing that you can do for yourself. Our brains have to reboot. And the way we reboot them is to step out and play and realize that God enjoys it. And in the end, so does everyone else. Okay, that's the play that I have for today. So I have just had a good time playing with y'all and explaining what play was, and that was a really great exercise for me. It helped me to think about things in a different way, and I hope that it did you too. Remember that the Naked Singer podcast drops every single Monday, and it drops on Apple Podcast and all your favorite other podcast networks. You can find it out there. Remember to follow me on Instagram at Naked Singer Blog. You can follow me. I'd love for you to follow me on TikTok at The Naked Singer Blog. You can find me on LinkedIn at The Naked Singer. I said Naked Singer Blog for TikTok. It's not. It's at The Naked Singer. You can also follow me like that on LinkedIn, and pretty soon we're going to be launching on the YouTube channel as well. We're going to have some YouTube stuff going on. There are exciting things happening here for the Naked Singer podcast, and I just can't wait to see how God leads me to play some more. So this has been so very fun. Thank you for listening. I've enjoyed talking to you today. And as always, remember, I love you. I'm Crystal McDaniel, and this is The Naked Singer.